Hello, this is Gloomy Sunday, and once again, I will be sharing spooky stories that will send shivers down your thorny spine. Without further ado, let's begin tonight's creepy, spooky, and sometimes outlandish array of tales. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. It wasn't easy being the eldest of six, and six girls at that. My parents were hard-working people just trying to make an honest living. We hardly ever saw them at home, but it didn't bother us. They were either working late nights or sleeping during the day for work. It never occurred to us to feel neglected because, when we did get free time with them, those moments were unforgettable. Growing up with 5 siblings had its ups and downs. For one, we all had to share a bedroom, and second, we all helped each other with chores. We were a great team, everyone got along, and no one was ever jealous of the other. When I started high school, we moved out of our small 2-bedroom apartment into a 3-bedroom duplex. You can imagine the excitement when my parents told me I'd get a room all to myself. We all agreed I would take the room facing the backyard. One weekend, as my mom and aunt were getting ready to attend another aunt's funeral, I saw my little sister, Emily, running around. Without thinking, I followed her up and down the stairs until I realized I was outside by myself. As I re-entered the house, I saw her again and chased her into my parents' room. I quickly opened the door and yelled, "Emily, what are you doing?" But I walked into an empty room, staring only at my reflection in the mirror. Confused, I stepped out into the living room and saw her sleeping on the couch along with all 5 of my sisters. Who had I been following? I asked myself. Panicked, I ran to my mom, who was drying her hair in the bathroom, and said, "Mom," but the words caught in my throat. Concerned, she asked if I was okay, but I couldn't bring myself to explain. What was I supposed to say? That summer, we decided to sleep in the living room where the AC was running. I took the couch while my sisters used air mattresses. Everyone fell asleep, but I couldn't. I lay there, staring into the darkness, until I turned to my side and closed my eyes. Suddenly, I felt a finger tugging at a strand of my hair. "Little one, go to sleep, okay?" I mumbled, thinking it was my youngest sister. But then the tugging grew stronger. Annoyed, I reached out to push her away, but there was no one there. Waving my hand around, I still felt nothing, yet the tugging continued. Fear gripped me as I hid under the blanket. Just as I started to feel safe, something grabbed my foot and tugged hard. Summoning all my courage, I turned to look. A small shadow, childlike in form, stood at the edge of the couch. Before I could make out its face, it darted away, knocking over our TV with a loud crash. After that, strange things started happening more frequently. I'd see someone sitting at the bottom of the stairs when I left for school, or I'd dream of a voice calling me outside. Over time, these encounters became routine, and I almost convinced myself they were harmless hallucinations. Sleeping in my own room at night was a nightmare. I left the door open, hoping to hear if anything happened to my family, not that I'd know what to do. But leaving it open turned out to be a mistake. Night after night, I saw a small figure sitting in the doorway, as though it was sad or scared. "Emily, Susan, Melanie," I called, thinking it was one of my sisters. No answer. Closing my eyes to ignore it, I would hear footsteps moving closer. The floor creaked louder and louder, followed by faint whispers of,
"Wake up, I'm hungry."
Then, nothing. One night, while my mom was off work, I went to shower before bed. After steaming up the bathroom, I glanced at the mirror to inspect my skin. That's when I saw her. At the bottom of the mirror, A small girl appeared. Her long black hair was matted, her face and skin caked in dirt, but her arms were bent backward. Frozen in fear, I watched as she began sobbing. She looked up at me, crying, and said,
"Help me."
I bolted for the door but couldn't open it. Struggling with the knob, I felt her presence getting closer. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her dirty, rotting feet. Pounding on the door, I screamed, "Mom, help me, help me." Finally, my mom opened the door. I ran into her arms, sobbing, and told her everything. To my shock, she didn't hesitate. She called for my younger sister to get Grandma on the phone. "Why?" I asked. She pointed behind me. I turned around to see maggots and dirt scattered across the bathroom floor. The stench of decay filled the air. When Grandma arrived, she performed an ancient spiritual cleansing ritual. She spat water around the house and scattered dry corn kernels to drive the spirit out. I saw shadows fleeing from her every time she chanted. Eventually, she cornered it outside, and it vanished. Grandma explained that the spirit was my great-grandfather, her father-in-law. He had been searching for my grandfather, but since Grandpa didn't have a shrine in his home, the spirit couldn't find him. Disguised as a child, Great-grandpa came to me because I was the eldest and because we had no brothers. After sacrificing a cow and burning spiritual money for him, the haunting stopped. Great-grandpa finally found peace, and we never saw him again. So creepy. It was a good thing that the sender's grandma knew how to deal with the restless spirit. Who knew what else could have happened if nothing was done? Let's listen to the next story. In Cambodia, two teenage brothers decided to embark on a hunting trip, eager for adventure. Armed with a Soviet-made, high-powered rifle, they left their village early one morning, crossing 3 hills to reach a dense, heavily forested valley rumored to be rich with game. As they approached the valley, the older brother, more experienced in hunting, noticed something unsettling. The usual chatter of birds was absent, replaced by an eerie silence. The wind howled through the trees, carrying with it a faint but unmistakable stench of rotting flesh. Despite a nagging sense of unease, the excitement of the hunt and the bright morning sun kept him moving forward. The younger brother, too eager to wait, dashed ahead into the forest. The older brother followed, marking the trees with his knife every few dozen yards to ensure they could find their way back. As they ventured deeper into the jungle, the canopy thickened, shrouding them in shadow. The smell of decay grew stronger, clinging to the air. Their excitement turned to fear when the older brother spotted tracks in the dirt, fresh tiger tracks. His heart pounded as he cleared the foliage to confirm it. A tiger had been there just minutes earlier. He locked eyes with his brother, neither daring to speak. They turned to leave, retracing their steps as quickly and quietly as they could. A low, guttural growl shattered the stillness. The tiger was near. The brothers crouched behind a tree, trying to stay hidden. The beast hadn't spotted them yet but was sniffing the air, closing in. Leaves rustled as something massive pushed through the undergrowth. Acting on instinct, the older brother hoisted the younger one into a tree and passed up the rifle. Just as the younger brother secured his grip on the weapon, the tiger leapt. Its powerful jaws clamped onto the older brother's neck, dragging him to the ground. The younger brother froze in terror, clutching the rifle as he watched the horrific scene below. The tiger crushed the life out of his older brother. Its jaws locked in a death grip. When the older brother stopped moving, the tiger began licking its prey, oblivious to the boy above. Tears streamed down the younger brother's face as he steadied the rifle. Aiming at the tiger's head, he squeezed the trigger. The rifle roared, echoing through the valley. The tiger leapt into the air with a thunderous roar before collapsing. But it wasn't dead, the shot had missed its head and struck its body instead. Panicked, the younger brother chambered another round. Bracing the rifle against the tree, he took careful aim and fired again. This time, the bullet struck true. The tiger's head snapped to the side, and it fell lifeless to the ground. For what felt like hours, the younger brother stayed perched in the tree, trembling as he stared at the tiger and his brother's lifeless body. Eventually, he climbed down. Overcome with grief and rage, he emptied the rifle into the tiger at point-blank range before collapsing beside his brother to weep. Through tears, he whispered a prayer and promised to return with help. Following the older brother's tree markings, he fled the cursed valley and ran back to the village. The next morning, the younger brother returned with his father and a group of villagers to recover the body. They found his brother where he had fallen, partially consumed, and the tiger's corpse nearby. Before leaving, the father decided to skin the tiger, taking the hide back to the village. When they unfurled the tiger's pelt, something strange emerged. Despite the younger brother's claim that he had fired multiple shots, the hide bore only one bullet hole near the hip. Confused and insistent, the younger brother recounted the events, swearing he had hit the tiger at least 5 times. The villagers called upon a shaman to examine the hide. After a long silence, the shaman spoke.
The tiger's master was protecting it. The spirit shielded the tiger from the other shots, deflecting them. It only allowed the first bullet to partially pass through, striking lower than intended. Had the tiger not been skinned, its master likely would have healed it, and the tiger would have risen again.
The older brother was laid to rest that day, and the villagers vowed never to set foot in the cursed valley again. It is so sad that the older brother had to sacrifice his life so the younger brother could live. But I also don't condone the senseless killing of animals. I hope you enjoyed our spooky and strange stories. Join us next time for more. Take care and boo-bye.